Released in August 2004 on PC, Doom 3 was an incredible looking game that pushed graphical boundaries and contemporary PC hardware to the limit. It was a major step forward in graphics technology that gave an early look at the potential of next generation video games. John Carmack discussed at length the features that he wanted to incorporate into the game. These included unified lighting and shadows, interactive GUI surfaces, stencil shadows, and advanced object physics. All of these elements made their way into the final version of Doom 3. 8 months after the PC release in April 2005, Doom 3 was released on Xbox. Ported by Vicarious Visions, the developer that recently worked on the Crash Bandicoot and Tony Hawk's remakes. It's an incredibly impressive port that not only manages to migrate many of the PC game's graphical and design features to the more constrained Xbox hardware, it also includes an exclusive online or LAN co-op campaign. One of the first things to talk about before we even start looking at the game content is the difference in brightness levels and contrast. This is at the default settings on the Xbox and the lowest brightness settings on the PC. The Xbox version is a much darker game. This seems to be caused by a reduction in the amount of lights in each scene and how lighting on Xbox interacts with the environment. It's an interesting change and both versions still look great, but areas of the game that have the same content can look very different because of this. Getting back to the game itself, and right from the start, the differences in the way the content is presented are immediately obvious. This intro section is fully playable in the PC version. It's a large open area filled with dynamic shadows, an interactive screen, and NPCs. When we go into the door to be scanned, we see another room with background characters entering and leaving. This is all viewed through a warped glass window, and on PC hardware of the time, the frame rate can take a massive hit during this sequence. In the Xbox version, this whole section is all shown in a non-interactive cutscene, which given the hardware constraints seems like a sensible choice. Once the scan is finished, the first extra loading screen appears. We are transported through the door and into the next room. This is where Xbox players gain control of the character. Differences here are much more subtle, with expected cuts to texture detail, shadows and geometry, but one of the big surprises is just how much is retained. Detailed shadows under the sentry bot are still present, and incidental objects such as cans on the floor and on the table to the right appear just as they do in the PC game. Interactive GUI surfaces also make an appearance here, an important inclusion as it was one of id Software's principal design pillars for the game. Moving on to the next area, and we see again that many of the small details are present in the Xbox game, but we also notice one of the big changes that will crop up again and again throughout the Xbox version of Doom 3. The level has been altered so as to limit the view of wider areas, just as we can see here on the right, where an extra wall has been placed to obscure the view of the rest of the environment. It's the same on the left, where the level has been changed so there is no extra room viewable through the glass. Going up the steps and through this corridor shows another major change. The Xbox version has a door to go through, and on the other side the room is completely different. During the cutscene with Betruga and Swan, the background is altered, and you can see that the environment through the glass is also different. On Xbox, Betruga is missing a black spot on his clothes, and his eyeballs don't move around while he's talking like they do on PC. But the Xbox does have extra environmental objects in the form of 2 cups on the desk that are missing from the PC game. When we gain back control, we can see that this entire area with the toilets and kitchen has been cut from the Xbox game, replaced with a direct passage leading to the outside of Marine Command. We can see that on Xbox, the glass has been replaced with metal, again restricting the view. Marine Command itself has been greatly simplified. It's smaller in scale, NPCs have been moved, and the external view has been replaced with 2 big screens. On Xbox, some areas are broken up into smaller chunks to aid in loading. Following this sentry bot, we notice just how many extra doorways there are to pass through when moving around in a small area. 10 on Xbox compared with 5 on the PC. As we disembark the elevator, we notice the warping effect on the glass is missing and the level of geometry has been simplified with only one pipe running across the ceiling. Exiting through the door, and another big change, the underground junction area has been reduced to one staircase, rather than the large multi-storey cavern present on the PC. Walking through the door, and Xbox has two small areas missing completely, the Convergence Chamber 1 and the Maintenance Area CS1, instead skipping straight to the Energy Stabilization Unit. Interestingly, in the next area we're going upstairs on Xbox and downstairs on PC, and this is where Xbox skips straight to the Scientist and the Invasion of Hell, while on PC we have a few more areas to traverse, including a walk outside on the Martian surface. After the Hell invasion, we're walking back through some of the areas we've already seen, now transformed by the demonic presence. As we travel back in the lift, one difference on the Xbox side is the elevator doors malfunctioning, showing the shaft outside, while the PC version doesn't do this. We pick back up, and another room missing on Xbox after exiting the processing unit. Instead of this room with all these pistons and shadow casting lights, Xbox gets a dark narrow corridor leading to a simplified version of the EP control unit room. One of the big downgrades on Xbox is the reduction in shadow casting lights and what seems to be a reduction in the distance that light travels. On PC there's lots of places that have really nice lighting effects and shadows that dance around the environment, and this is a great area to show that off. Unfortunately, these effects are mostly absent on Xbox. In the same vein, light from fireballs thrown by the imps is also greatly reduced. While fireballs do seem to create shadows from the imps themselves, the environment seems to be mostly unaffected. In contrast to the PC, where dynamic environmental shadows are created and move as the fireball travels through the area. As we exit the energy processing room, we are greeted with a corridor on Xbox, while the PC has a large open room. Again, this limits our view, but when we turn around, we see the overall scene is very similar. We still have the underfloor lights on the left, we still have the lights above the door on the right, and the room opens up quite a lot, even if it's not quite as expansive on Xbox as on PC. Leaving this room, and the scene is very similar on both systems. Most details are the same, down to the placement of the ammo pickup. As the imp jumps out, we again see the differences between lighting and shadows. Much more light is produced on PC, and how it interacts with the environment is significantly scaled back on Xbox. As we go around the corner, we see the geometry of the room has also been altered. The room is much larger on PC, with a central pillar, and a grate on the floor that has beams of red light that illuminate the pipes on the ceiling. On PC, we exit through a different door, and find these rooms with machinery producing some gorgeous lighting and shadow effects. On Xbox, we work our way back and come into the Convergence Chamber 2 from the other side before returning to the underground junction. There are many more changes as the game goes on, and they are all similar to what I've shown here. Texture quality is degraded. Various aspects of shadow quality and lighting have been scaled back. Details on some characters is reduced. Some effects like the warping of glass is removed. Some areas are abridged, sometimes with whole rooms missing, while other rooms have been simplified, and geometric detail on some objects has also been reduced. These all combine into big changes that, when placed side by side, show a stark and obvious advantage for the PC. Doom 3 really was a game ahead of its time, and the fact that it runs on the Xbox at all is a huge accomplishment. When talking about Doom 3 on Xbox, it's easy to get bogged down in the things that are missing and the alterations made. Developer Vicarious Visions made smart decisions to get the game running at an acceptable level on the Xbox console. And while the loss of high detail textures, reduction of dynamic shadows, and changes to the level design to accommodate the weaker hardware are all things that stand out when playing the game side by side, and pinpointing specific elements, when looked at as a whole, and you ask yourself, does this game look like Doom 3? Does this game play like Doom 3? And is this game Doom 3? And the answer to all of those questions is a definitive yes. Then what you have is a technically ambitious console game that feels like a complete package, and feels like it was designed for the system that it is running on. And that, I would say, is the developer's greatest achievement, and the gamer's greatest win.